good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, Dr. Iver Felix. Dr. Iver, your microphone is off.
Okay, so there. Good afternoon to everyone and happy Sabbath. If you are watching in other parts of the world that is already nighttime or early in the morning, welcome. And this is another episode of a fruitful conversation and reflective exposition. So today's topic is entitled It's Okay to Not Be Okay. Ellen G. White wrote in Ministry of Healing, chapter 18, Mind Cure. She said that the relation that exists between the mind and the body is very intimate. When one is affected, the other sympathizes, and the condition of the mind affects the health to a far greater degree than many realize. Many of the diseases from which men suffer are the results of mental depression, grief, anxiety, discontent, remorse, guilt, distrust, all tend to break down the life forces to invite decay in death. When I was bullied when I was a kid, I coped by trying to suppress my feelings because I was afraid of people rejecting me in some way. I pressed all my feelings down, but that didn't make them go away. They were still existent. They never left. And driving them away only delayed the explosion. And it isn't bad thing to express your emotions. And if you're not okay, it's all right to say so. Many of those who are watching this afternoon might be in their 20s. So as 20 somethings, we face an array of challenges in today's society. We have jobs, expenses, relatives, relationships, and relationship issues, and all of which have hurdles on their own. But having to juggle all of these responsibilities require a considerable amount of emotional and physical energy. Listen, I understand that things so unpredictable right now. Your job isn't your top choice. Your anxiety is getting the best of you, and your savings account did appear to be in jeopardy. And you have a lot on your plate right now. Perhaps that's not what you're going through, but I'm sure you've been working hard. You've been through a lot. And everybody has their own hardships and problems to contend with, and things don't always turn just the way we would like them to. It's okay to acknowledge that you're not okay, which implies your feelings and emotions, no matter what they are valid. Things don't always go our way. We are not always fine. And being open and acknowledging that we are not okay when we project every appearances of being the opposite is frightening. But we all know that life isn't all rainbows and cute baby animals. It's okay to not be okay, but I'm telling you, it's not okay to stay that way. When the very first lockdown was imposed due to the rapid spread of the disease from across the country, many of us were caught unaware, right? We're not used to being confined within our homes. We are social animals. We prefer to interact with others because interaction is what keeps us going. If I were to ask you right now, who among you here has had a normal reunion with friends in the last 2 years? No masks worn, no social distancing observed, and no curfews to beat. But as of the moment, this is still far from what we wanted to happen. Conversations about mental health is often seen as irrelevant and not important. Many are suffering in the dark side of the society, left uncounted and ignored, waiting to be accounted for and recognized. Why do we live that way? Why do people have to suffer? Because of stigma. According to the American Psychological Association on Stigma, Prejudice, Discrimination against people with mental illness, over half of individuals with mental illness do not receive medical treatment. People frequently avoid and postpone seeking treatment due to fears of being treated unfairly or losing their jobs and livelihood. This is something that is alarming. This is indicative in the fact that stigma, prejudice, and discriminatory treatment against people who suffer from mental illness are still prevalent. Stigma, prejudice, and discrimination against people with mental illnesses can be subtle or overt, but they all have the potential to cause harm. People with mental illnesses are marginalized and discriminated against in a variety of ways. But understanding what that looks like and how to address and eliminate it can be beneficial. So that's why exercises such as this is very important. Have some conversation. Invite your friends to talk about mental health. Before we go through the steps, or before I discuss the ways to fight stigma and support mental health, I would like to give you the facts on stigma, prejudice, and discrimination. Stigma is frequently caused by a lack of awareness or fear. Both of these factors are impacted by inaccurate and misleading media portrayals of mental illnesses. Yes, we used to watch movies that are, let's say, psychological, or some are tragic, and some stories that are very emotional or so. But according to a review of stigma studies, whilst the community could acknowledge the hereditary or genetic characteristic of mental health problem and the need for intervention, most people seem to have a negative opinion of those struggling with mental illness. Maybe some of you who are watching right now also have a negative connotation of mental illness. What's the first thing that comes into your mind when you heard that one of your friends just came from the hospital and sought help from a psychiatrist or a psychologist? Researchers identify different types of stigma. We have three kinds. First, self-stigma. Self-stigma is referred to the negative attitude, including internalized shame, that people with a mental illness have about their own condition. The next one is public stigma. Public stigma involves the negative or discriminatory attitude that others have about mental illness. The third one, we have institutional stigma. It is more systemic because it involves policies of the government and private organizations that intentionally or unintentionally limit opportunities for people with mental health. Examples include lower funding for mental health research or fewer mental health services relative to other healthcare. Stigma not only directly affects individuals with mental illness, but also the loved ones who support them, often including their family members. Media depiction of people experiencing mental illness can affect the perception and marginalization, and they are commonly negative, inaccurate, and even violent. A research issued in June 2020 examined a typical case. I know you are all familiar with this famous film, Joker, in which the lead actor is a person suffering from a mental problem who becomes particularly violent. And according to the study, watching the film was associated with great rates of stereotyping towards those with mental illness. That's why if there are deliberate killings and there are some murders that are happening just within the realm of the media platforms, they always go into the resort of reporting it as a person with mental illness. Furthermore, the authors speculate that Joker may aggravate self stigma for anyone with mental disorder, resulting in the delays of seeking help. Stigma is a universal and experienced by people in all walks of life. Whether you are rich or you're poor, you might have millions or you just have a cent. You might have good, you might have a nice bed. You have plenty of food. Stigma is universal, and everyone can have it, as much as mental illness have. But the differences in the gravity of stigma that's experienced is also varied. What are the harmful effects of stigma and discrimination? There are a lot, and there are a lot of factors, and it differs from cultures to cultures, from people to people, depending on depending on how aware the environment is with mental health problems. Stigma and discrimination exacerbate the clinical manifestation of its illness. It is also it also decreases the chances that person suffering from such illness will seek help. Because why seek help if you can be stigmatized or you can be discriminated in the first place? If this occurs, the mild symptoms may worsen into a much more severe and complex disorder that necessitates more time and treatment than if help was sought earlier. I have listed 7 ways to fight stigma and support mental health. First one, gain perspective. When thinking about the role depression plays in someone else's life or in your own life, here are some statements to share and take in consideration. First, depression is something you have, something we might have, but this should not define you. You are much more than your diagnosis. Your personality, talents, skills, and compassion are your defining traits, not your depression. Like diabetes or cancer, depression is a physical illness that needs to be carefully treated. Just as a diabetic should take daily steps to monitor and control blood sugar levels, you should take action to monitor and control your symptoms of depression too. And in that way, you may be able to support and to be able to fight stigma, gain perspective. Separate yourself from the diagnosis that you have. That's why we don't call a person autistic. We don't call a person it's schizophrenic. We don't call a person depressive. We call them people with schizophrenia. We call them people with autism or people with depression. Separate them. Number 2, share your experience with mental health with others. Sharing your story about mental illness or recovery from mental illness can be empowering for both you and others who are suffering from a mental illness. And use your experience to disprove harmful stereotypes about mental illness and to encourage others to speak up and seek help. Share your experiences. There are times that people usually seek help just because they are forced to. And there are times that when, for example, we have gone through a mental illness and we have recovered, we sometimes are very forceful to others, telling that you should do this one, you should do this one because this worked for me. It might have worked for you, but it will not work for everybody. You just share your experience and try to talk it over. Number 3, start educating yourselves with and others about the importance of mental health. Education can help to alleviate stereotype and help the environment in which mental illness is treated. Because education is the most powerful device that you can use to confront feelings of shame you might have about your mental illness and to ensure that others understand what mental health or mental disorder is. Educate yourselves. Read a lot. There are a lot of articles, there are a lot of presentation, and exercises such as this can actually broaden our understanding towards people with mental disorder and of course the disorder itself. Number 4, very important to be conscious of your language because words matter. Avoid using hurtful words and labels such as nuts, crazy, or strange when talking about yourself or someone else's with mental illness. It won't help. Use respectful language when talking about mental health. Instead of the mentally ill use people with mental illness. And instead of committed suicide, use died by suicide. And let someone know if you hear them using harmful language because it stays within the person. Words matter. Number five, recognize the person's identity apart from their illness. Viewing someone through the lens of their own diagnosis simplifies their experience, and their diagnosis is not the defining factor of their identity. It will and should never be a defining factor. The next one, speak up. If you suspect someone is in a downturn or is having difficulties with their mental health being or mental well-being, send them words of support and help them get the help that they require. They know the help that they needed, and you're not the one to impose the help that you think you can give. There are even ways to assist if you ever see someone post a self harming status on social media. Contact them or anyone who knows them or report the incident of social media site. The last one is seek. This is the one of the most important. Seek professional help. In addition to improve mental health, seeking treatment can also lead to other benefits as well. Good mental health can also positively, same as physical health, by improving sleeping habits, the immune system, and lower pain levels. Having your mental health treated can also improve your productivity, allowing you to focus on daily tasks and give you the motivation to get things done in a timely manner. By talking about this and making other people aware of what's behind every burden that people with mental health problems are suffering, we are moving one step ahead of breaking the stigma brought about by society. Yes, you might say that that doesn't bother you because you are not suffering from such problems. But how about your friends? Your friends' relatives, your workmates, your relatives, your spouse, and those who are close and influential to you. Think about them. If they matter to you, then this matters to you. Matthew 7 1 to 5 said, judge not that you be not judged, for with the judgment you pronounce, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Why do you see the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye when there is a log in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the log out of your own eye, and then you'll see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. When you have done everything you can, and yet everything fails, the most important thing is take it to the Lord in prayer. It's okay not to not be okay, but it's not okay to stay that way. Happy Sabbath to everyone.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Iver. Now we are now in question and answers. Now you mentioned, okay, a while ago that it's okay to say you are not okay. Okay, and that means that your feeling and emotions are valid, no matter what they are. Expressing your emotion is never a bad thing, and if you're not okay, it's okay to say so. Now, my question is, okay, when it is not okay to be not okay.
When it is not okay to be not okay. When everything is already failing within your sight. So let's say, for example, it's not okay to not be okay when all of the people that are within your environment are actually affected. When your work is affected, when your daily activities are affected, when you are not performing well, and the only thing that you are doing is actually just staying there without doing nothing because you have that flat affect. So that's the time that it's not okay to not be okay. That's why you have to fight for it and you have to seek medical help. Because if you are just going to solve it for yourself, you're just going to look for or your own solution. Your knowledge for it is limited, and that the things that you might do to yourself might aggravate, make it severe, or in uh, or worse, it could lead to another comorbidity.
Okay, thank you so much. Now we have another question from Karen. Okay, how do we manage panic attack at home?
Okay, panic attacks are actually caused by the anxiety. It is part of the anxiety spectrum. Um, if you are going to think about if you know the definition of or the meaning of anxiety, it is actually an irrational it's an irrational thought, and it could lead to panic attacks as a physiological as it is. And how to deal with panic attacks? First, you have to know and develop breathing exercises for panic attacks. Breathing exercise is very important. Breathe in as slowly, deeply, and gently as you can through your nose. Breathe out slowly, deeply, and gently through your mouth. So breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth. Some people might find it helpful to count steadily from 1 to 5 on each breath and each out breath. And close your eyes, focus on breathing. Why? Physiologically, we have the fight and flight response, right? When we are experiencing panic attacks, we are hyperventilating. We have palpitations. And if you're going to slower, and when we are having palpitations or when we are we are tired, our heart beats faster and your breathing becomes faster also. So if you're going to slower your breathing, you are giving signals to your brain that the threat that your body have thought to be or your body have conceived is already in control. So when you lower it, you are sending signals to your brain that everything is going fine. So breathe slowly, and you can be able to manage your panic attacks. But in cases such as there are severe panic attacks brought about by some other mental problems, it is but proper to consult medical help, because there are also some drugs that they give to that one. But if it's manageable, then do the breathing exercises.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Okay, if you have any question, you can comment. Okay, type your questions, guys. And Dr. Iver, okay, Dr. Iver is willing to answer your questions. I think we have another question. Okay, another question. Okay, in places where mental health institutions are not available, where do people with mental health problems turn to?
Okay. When we are talking about mental health problems, there are different spectrums of that. There are mild, moderate, and severe. Now, in places where mental health institutions or we don't have enough number of psychiatrists, psychologists, or psychometricians in town, there are telehealth that doctors are doing, that you can consult to them through of course using the social media platforms. And if not, if you have problems with some sorts that you think you need urgent help, you can talk to your closest friend, the one you trusted. You can bring everything to them. You can open to them, or if you have a contact with your church pastor or any counselor that you can have in contact with. That can be a remedy for not having a mental health institution for that.
Okay, thank you so much. I think no more questions. Okay, for our viewers, now I would like to ask this question. So, how to deal with people who are easily quick to judge? Okay, so you mentioned that different person, we have different perspectives, right? Different views. If you have problems, some people think, oh, it's not a problem. But for you, it's a problem. Now, how do you deal with those people who are easily quick to judge? Okay, they cannot understand your feelings. So, how do you tell them that this is who you are and this is what you feel?
Is this for the viewer? Okay.
Yes, some person sent this message. Okay, this
Mhm.
question: how to deal with people who are easily quick to judge? Now, some people they can understand your feeling that you do this because you are like this, right? Now, how do you tell them that this is you and this is my feeling? You should understand my feeling.
Is this question for the viewers or?
Questions related for the topic.
Ah, okay, so I will have to answer this.
Yes, yes.
Ah, okay, sorry. Okay. Why do people quickly judge? Because they don't have the values that you have, and it's between perspective. Now, always remember that in the rule of perception, we don't see things as they are, but we see things as we are. We are projecting things that are actually within us and not from the things that we see. We judge them according to the values that we have. We judge them quickly. People judge us according to the values that they have, the culture they grow up into, the beliefs that they have, and of course the things that they believe is true to themselves. Now if they are very vocal of this one, that's something, there is a problem with that one, but there are always remedies onto that one. Okay, first of course, um, when people judge you, I think one thing that you can do is to ignore them, as long as it's not true in you. You don't have to explain yourself to other people. You don't have to be answerable to their questions, because you know what you are, you know what you believe in, and you have your own values. And if that does not meet their values, then don't spend time or don't waste time with those things. Always remember that one key to failure is trying to please everyone. And when you please everyone, this person can keep judging you all the way through. Just ignore them. Practice mindfulness. Check if it's true or not. Reframe. Practice empathy. Okay. Practice self compassion. Practice self curiosity. And of course, notice your thoughts.
Okay. Now the last question. We have one more question. Okay, we know what it likes to be happy, sad and angry or content. But how much of any emotion is too much?
How much of
How much of any of these emotions, sad, happiness, and anger, is too much? Okay, example. At what point does joy become frenzy, or when does anger turn to rage, or how much sorrow does it take to have sadness become a depression? Something like that.
Oh, okay. So when we are talking about the extremities or the intensity of such emotion, it becomes too much when it's not already normal or it's not already acceptable as it currently is. But when we are talking about depression, mental illnesses, of course, have their own span for you to, and they have their own individual symptoms that you have to count in order for you to diagnose that in a span. Now, for depression, you should experience some sorts of symptoms for about 2 weeks straight to a month before it could be a clinically diagnosed depression. But how much of any emotion is too much? Um, if you have emotional overload, it often comes from having conflicting feelings, too many feelings happening at once, or not being able to act based on your gut feelings, right? So there, is being too much emotional a bad thing? That's a question. So it's certainly not a rare thing. Many people are doing this. But the next time someone says you're always so sensitive, remember that it's totally normal. And it's not a bad thing neither. Okay? You may feel positive emotions more deeply than others too. So if it's too much, um, if it's already disturbing, but if you're just happy because you're happy, then there's no problem with that one.
Okay, I think that's correct. Okay, so with this discussion, Dr. Iver, I learned something about toxic positivity. Okay,
Mhm.
now when you mentioned about your information about mental health, I learned that we have this toxic positivity. Now, this is a positive assumption that despite of person's emotional pain, okay, or
Mhm.
turmoil, they should only have positive mindset. Okay, I
Mhm.
realized that when we pretend that emotion pain doesn't exist, okay, we send a message to our brain that whatever the emotion it is some way bad or dangerous. If our brain believes we are in the dangerous situation, our body will respond as such. Okay, the second point that I learned, okay, by overdoing positive affirmation. Okay, if we only think about positive affirmation, we may be validating ourselves or other feelings and harming them when they are already in vulnerable state. So I think
Mhm.
if we are sad, we have to recognize that we are sad. Okay? So that's my learning experience. And the last one, I think the best way to deal with negative emotion is to let yourself feel the emotions that you're feeling and let them pass and do not push them under the rug. Okay, I think
Okay.
I learned so much from this.
Uh, Thank
What
you
do
for
you think
that. And
about?
I would like to add some of the things that you have just said. Now remember that, let's say for example, um, the toxic positivity that you said. Let's say for example you are telling someone, or you're telling a mother whose son died, to be happy
Yes.
because of um, he has already rested. Like say for example for those family members who had died due to diseases. Now it's not appropriate for you to say that because there is a grieving process. Now, if you are just going to just forget it and just keep it for yourself, just because you want to be positive, you want just to be happy, you are actually uh, you are actually denying yourself with the normal process of grieving. And remember, that's what we call repression. Repression is a form of a defense mechanism that we tend to forget everything. We tend to repress. We tend to push it within into the unconscious part of our minds. But that is a defense mechanism. Defense mechanism is just a mechanism that's used to lessen the threat of anxiety, and it's not healthy as it goes. So if you feel pain, if you are sad, express it, because at the end of the day, you only have yourself. Why deny yourself if yourself is the only one that can understand you?
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Iver. Now, Dr. Iver, we would like to invite you for our next episode if you are free. So,
Sure,
would you like to accept our offer?
anytime.
Okay, so I think we don't have any questions. Some of the viewers are trying to ask message, but I think I already asked the question. Uh, so if we don't have any question, I think I have to say goodbye, everyone, and see you next Saturday. Okay, thank you so
Goodbye.
much, Dr. Iver, and for our viewers. So please share this group, as this is actually for our fourth episode, third episode. So we're still planning to invite more people to join here and also to share about health and mental health. Okay, medical um, medical medical works. Okay, so everyone, thank you so much. I have to say goodbye, everyone, and see you next time.